First play done at Belleville East was The Rainmaker, and it was done on a B100 stage, and all that was there was a little concrete slab, a couple of pillars that separated the steps on each side, and it was maybe 20 feet by 10 feet.
It was really a lecture hall, not
It was really a lecture study hall, not designed to be a theater. When I was first hired, Mr. McCoy, the principal at the time, said, "Well, what do you think of our theater?" I said, "Well, I think that it does, the size and the shape of the stage doesn't really matter as much as the kids who perform and the acting involved." Oh, that's just a good answer, so I was hired, I guess.
You like that answer?
Well, having good productions does not mean that you have to have great facilities. When you think about the Greek drama, all they had was an empty stage, you know, and it had a chorus area. But over time, when Mr. Isom and I started doing some real serious technical work in there, we would knock out a wall here and there, ceiling tiles would start falling. I would start building.
Falling.
Yeah, start falling. Oh, darn! We got that. Well, let's just take that out of there. We can put a light in there, and we put some holes in the back wall by nailing our scene. The only way to get the scenery to stand up was to nail it to the wall.
Yeah.
So between doing that and then gradually adding some stage extensions to the front, and by adding some things on the side, we started building a stage area that was really pretty good size at the end. Although the custodians kind of got a little...
I remember that you took out rows of seats.
We took a couple
Every
rows of seats
year
out.
we try to get a one row farther out into the audience.
Right, and the custodians, when they first saw that, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, don't worry about it, we're just building the stage." We first covered up the rows of seats, and then that kind of became semi-permanent, so we just took the rows out, and the custodian said, "You know what, we really need to build something a little more permanent." I said, "Okay, great." So they did, and they built a permanent stage. In the end, B100 actually, by the time we got the ceiling knocked out and the stage extended and the silly non-supported walls were taken out, we had a space that was bigger than Belleville West's stage.
I remember that.
And the reason I figured that out was because we were doing a contest play called Scapino. And we had set, Mr. Isom had built the set, and it fit perfectly on our stage. We designed it so it could, you know, as contest plays go, you could take it apart and transport it in a truck and set it up at the other school, you know, whoever was hosting it. Well, Belleville West was hosting districts that year. So we took our set off of our stage in B100, transported it to Belleville West, and guess what? It would not fit. We had to take two flats out in order for that stage to fit our scenery. And it was really amazing that...
That is amazing, because that was a beautiful theater that they had.
Oh, yeah.
And their audience capacity was so much larger.
The audience capacity was large, but their stage area and backstage area really wasn't that big when you think about it. We had a lot of backstage space with C-Node, and you know, all that area became, you know, part of the theater as it evolved. So, and
that was where the new counselor building is now.
Right.
Counselors and computer labs over there.
Right.
But at that time it was a theater.
Yeah, right. And then we kept on building to the back of the theater. We added a booth, we added some more lighting instruments, and over time it was a really nice, intimate theater. And the audiences would come to that. We would not have to use microphones. We would not have to use any of the things that would be here, that they have to use here, because the kids learn to project. And the audience was close enough to could really interact with the audience in a meaningful way.
I think we would see, what, about 200, wasn't it, somewhere?
B100 sat 180.
Yeah.
Close to 200.
Yeah.
What if we could take the play to the audience? He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Let's do some children's theater."
That's wonderful.
And he said, "How would you do that?" I said, "Well, we would rehearse the play, build the scenery that's transportable and flexible enough to set up almost anywhere, like at a gym or somewhere, you know, and then do plays designed for children and take it to the kids." Okay, he went along with the idea. So we did our first play, Renard the Fox, a classic children's story, which not many of the kids today really got, but back then, you know, they really enjoyed it. And we took it to 6 different grade schools, and we had 600 or 800 kids at each school watching our plays.
Yes, wonderful.
And it was great, and I was able to use all kinds of different ways of getting the actors a new experience and challenging the set crew to build something that we could transport and still put up and take down quickly, you know, and it was kind of interesting. And then I wrote 2 children's plays just for that purpose. One was called The Box, and the other was called the Bedtime Story. And one of the characters in that was Jack in the Box, played by Jeff Kopus, who's now one of the local attorneys in town. So there's a lot of kids that I've had over the years who have gone through the theater program and ended up successful in many other venues, particularly attorneys. Steve Cass comes to mind as a student I had in 76, I think he was. And he's now a very prominent attorney. One of the things I found out about the theater program, its influence, was how it changed the kids' perspective in the way they thought about the world and themselves. Because not only do they learn about the plays, but they learn about how to work with each other. And they learn about themselves in performance, whether on stage as an actor or behind the scenes as a tech person. They learn that there's a lot of dimensions to making a successful production that involves many people doing various things. And I think that was a lesson they all took from the theater. Besides the literary aspect of it, they learned to get along, they learned to jury rig and make do. And,
Sure.
you know.
And everybody is important, whether it be
Yeah.
the lead actor or the guy operating the spotlight.
Yeah.
The show.
You
needs
won't
all-
notice if a
Sure.
spotlight doesn't come on right, you know.
Right.
In fact, one of the things about the Czech kids, they were more proud that they were not noticed.
Yeah, that's true.
Because if they were noticed, something went wrong.
Yeah.
For example, when we first did the play here, I think our first show was Sound of Music. And Kimberly Ritchie was directing it, and I was doing the tech. And one of the things we tried to learn was the fly system. And we had these, the scene in the garden with the Sound of Music cast. What was the name of that scene? You are 16 going on 17. And there was some lattice work come down, and they had some wicker furniture. But the lattice work was flown in, and then somehow, some way they got the cue wrong. They started to raise it up and went one side only. It was tipped. Meanwhile, Aaron Bates is singing along, you know, and the scenery's going like this in the background. I said, oh my God. And you could see things like that, and you know how terrible the tech is when they make a mistake, because it's bigger than the actor just forgetting a line.
I remember doing a Children's play and a wall fell over.
Oh, yeah.
And there were people sitting behind them.
Yeah.
But it was so funny, we decided to keep it in, and so we ran it that way for the rest of the
Some shows you can do that. Other shows, if you're doing a serious play like Shakespeare, you know, Macbeth,
You don't want a wall.
you don't want a wall falling down in Macbeth. You know. And then we were still building that theater and renovating B100 into the guidance department, so we had no place to go. So we did have an opportunity to do a show at the Lincoln Theater, and we put together a vaudeville act and did the show down there, which is what they would have done in that show,
Yeah.
I mean, that theater
Yeah.
venue. So we did a Roaring Twenties review, we did vaudeville, we did a melodrama, we did George M. Cohan stuff, you know, and we did Laurel and Hardy stuff, and we did all kinds of things, just to have an opportunity for the kids to do something. And then we did one production at Belleville West, and then finally this was built in 2002, 2003, I think.
I remember when we did Diary of Anne Frank.
Oh my God.
And we cut a hole in the floor. That was in the old theater, so we could do whatever we wanted.
Yeah.
So we cut a hole in the floor and simulated people coming up into the attic.
Right.
The audience didn't realize that the actors were actually crawling on the ground underneath the floor, and at the last minute had to pop up and run up the stairs. But there was no way to stand up down there.
No. But we had the illusion that there was a steps going down. And I remember doing one of the shows with Ted Shaw. We did Man of La Mancha.
Yes.
Nobody thought we could do that show in B100. But it's a matter of getting the right scenery in the right angle with the right paint job, with the right lighting, and that stage would look immense. And then I remember my wife came over one time and we were looking at the set of Man of La Mancha. She said, oh, this is an amazing stage. We did the show. Ted Shaw did a great job with the arches and with the lighting in the background. And then we took it all apart after the show was over. Of course, we got to put everything away. We came back the next day, and my wife says, "Where's the stage?" I said, "Right there." "No, I mean the stage." That's it.
They didn't take it away.
No, it's just amazing what you can do. Now here, this is really a great venue, but it's not as flexible as what we have. I think we could, like you said, we could do anything we wanted.
Yeah, that's right.
And create all kinds of illusions with that little space.
Yeah.
It was quite. I think it was a theater by. Let's see if it works. It was a theater that was made to work. The kids learned how to work. They learned how to do things.
And Dracula, I remember.
Oh my God. Dracula was an amazing show in that we had all these locations: Dracula's castle, the Western home, the dungeon at the Abbey, and so forth. And we had all these pieces that were actually turning, and the set became a part of the show. The set crew was one of the only times I remember the set crew got an ovation, and they actually got recognized in the curtain call because they had to move all these scenic pieces. And
Yeah, it was orchestrated. It had to be timed perfectly.
It was like Tetris.
And the things, the flats were, you know, what, 15, 16 feet tall,
Something like that, yeah. And they were all three-dimensionally shaped, which became the basis for some of the children's play scenery that we did later on. And we were able to do the turnaround. They were three-sided, you know, three-dimensional pieces that on one side painted one scene, turned around, it was another scene. You know, it was quite effective. But my daughter said, you know, you got to get on Facebook because there are a lot of students that you had that would love to hear from you. And so I did, and I posted a lot of pictures from the old stages and old plays. And kids I had from the 70s and the kids from the 80s have all come and said, you know, we learned so much doing theater. And it's really interesting to see how they turned out.